Do you love shooting with 35mm lenses on a full frame camera? Would you like a really compact setup? About the size of this pouch. Inside this pouch is a full frame camera with a 35mm f2 Summicron equivalent lens. Do you want to see what it is? Let's take a look. It's actually a really nice pouch as well. I'll put some links below if you want to get the pouch. Today I've got the Light Lens Lab 8-element 35mm f2 Summicron replica, but it's collapsible. This video is like a pre-video comparing this lens to other small popular 35mm lenses for Leica cameras. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. I'm just going to be doing some Lightroom side-by-side testing, and stay till the end for some real photos shot on my workshop in London yesterday. So before we jump onto the computer, the lenses I've got for you in order, going from left to right. We've got the Voigtlander Ultron Classic 40mm f1.4. Next to that, we've got the reasonably new Voigtlander Helia 40mm f2.8 screw mount lens. This is a super small lens and I absolutely love it on my Leica screw mount film cameras. Next to that, we have the brand new or reasonably new Light Lens Lab 35mm f2 8-element collapsible lens. So this is the same optical formula as the previously released 35mm f2 8-element, but with the added benefit of it is now screw mount and collapsible, making it a really compact lens. The next lens is the benchmark lens for this test from the lenses that I own, and it is the Voigtlander 35 f2 Ultron. And finally, if you want something super small, the Voigtlander Color Skopar 35mm f2.5. Let's jump into Lightroom and we can see how these lenses perform. So first, if we look at the 35mm at different f-stops, and then stay with me and I'll show you against the other mentioned lenses. Okay, so on the left we've got the 35 f2 8-element at f2 wide open, and on the right stop down to 2.8. So the question is, how much does the photo improve as you stop down one stop? And as you can see, the clarity really improves overall as you stop down, but if we zoom in we can appreciate it better. So yes, much sharper as you can see here, but not quite as nice bokeh. So wide open, you've got the soap bubble bokeh, as they call it, very circular in the center, and it goes a bit more mainstream. That's a bit like Summicron's a spherical 51.4 bokeh at f2, like a bit like a cog, they call it. Now from f2.8 to f4. So on the left f2.8, on the right f4. If we zoom in, still nice subject background separation. And again, look, the clarity of the image in the center is cleaned up even more at f4. I didn't go beyond f4 in this initial test, but I just wanted to see how it compared to, more so to other lenses. So let's do that next. So first, let's compare to the popular 40mm 1.4 Voigtlander multi-coated. On the left, you've got the Voigtlander. As you can see, it slightly looks bigger in the image. On the right, you've got the 8-element. If we zoom in for sharpness, I think the general pop is similar on both. Make up your own mind, maybe slightly better on the 35mm, and I much prefer the bokeh on the 35mm wide open f2 versus the Ultron 1.4 at f2. But obviously, yeah, that would be down to personal preference. In closer inspection, the sharpness is pretty similar. As I say, make up your own mind. The focus point's slightly different. So the M3, don't look at the M3. I was actually focusing on the 2. I should have said that in the last clip. And also the colors look less warm. It looks a bit more pinky blue maybe on the new 35 8-element compared to the Ultron. Next, if you value very small, compact, and like a screw mount lenses, this test is definitely for you. On the left, we've got the 40mm 2.8 Helia. And on the right is the 35 f2 at f2.8, so it's the same f-stop on both. From first impressions, both have got nice pop and subject background separation, with both with very nice rendering. I've been really happy with the 42.8, so if it matches the 42.8, I'm a happy chappy. And again, the focus point's slightly different. I was focusing on here the best that I could, looking through the like SL at full magnification. Okay, what about at f4? One of these two lenses will become my go-to walk-around lens on a screw mount camera. So which one's going to give me the best performance, especially for zone focusing? Because I often zone focus the lens that I use on my 1931 black Leica standard, as both of these photos look very similar and both really good clarity in the center. I'm probably going to start using a 35 f2 instead of the 40mm Helia, for the simple reason that a 35mm is easier to scale focus because you've got more in depth at any given f-stop. Okay, what about the benchmark test? So let's now compare to the Voigtlander Ultron 35 f2 VM lens. On the left, we've got the Light Lens Lab 8 element. On the right, the Voigtlander Ultron 35 f2. The Light Lens Lab lens looks like it could be like 33mm or 34mm. It looks slightly wider. If you look at the edges here, I was shooting these on a tripod. Let's zoom in. Again, they've both got nice bokeh. The 8 element's got, there's maybe slightly nicer bokeh, but again, personal preference. The key is what about sharpness and clarity. Now, in terms of 3D pop, if we call it that, the Ultron wins for me and is slightly warmer again than the 8 element. Again, it's partly down to the focus point or plane of focus, but the I focus here, but it looks like this is also more in focus in this particular shot. If we zoom right out, as you can see, in terms of vignetting, the vignetting is similar on the 8 element as it is on the Ultron at f2, and that is reasonably heavy vignetting. Okay, and then last but not least, on the left, the 8 element, on the right, the Skopar, both at f2.8. You can see there's much heavier vignetting on the Skopar. If we zoom in, how's the sharpness? The Skopar is pretty good. I have to maybe slightly surprised. I knew it's a good lens, but it's beaten the 8 element for center sharpness. The exposure is slightly different. I think the clouds may have changed outside or something, but yeah, well done, Skopar. If you saw my last video on 2 other Light Lens Lab lenses, I compared the Cook lens to the L-Can. So I'm doing the same testing, but this time with the 35 f2 collapsible. I must point out these videos are not sponsored, and I'm just excited. I'm testing them for my own benefit, and I did buy these lenses with my own money, which means I'll probably be without a house for a few more years. Now, as mentioned, I will do a full video, but just a quick heads up, if you're buying this lens before I manage to do a full review, this lens has got a few quirks. Number one, it's got a built-in UV filter, and that can cause quite crazy flaring. You might love it, you probably might not love it. It can be quite overpowering if you're not careful, but you can remove the UV filter. So I've not tried that yet, but the flare results you see here are with the filter attached. It is supplied with a cap, but it isn't supplied with a hood. I did find that I can use my hood for my L-Can lens, which is the IRODA, I think that's right, I'll write it on the screen, pinch cap hood. That does fit the 35mm and there's no vignetting. So if you own both lenses, you can use the same hood on both lenses. So that's quite good. It has a close focus distance of 0.5 meters, but is only rangefinder coupled from 0.7 meters. So again, if you're using mirrorless, this is going to give some really awesome results, and I can't wait to get playing and do some, as I say, proper photos out and about. This isn't the cheapest lens in the world, but being a 35 f2 Summicron replica, shall we call it, and being so small, for me, I thought it was worth the money, and I prefer to invest in lenses without the electronics, so M lenses, LTM lenses, because I can use those on film and they should go on pretty much forever. That was my excuse to myself. Okay, and before we finish, as mentioned, I was teaching in London yesterday, so here are some real life example pictures. First here with my preset applied, just because I thought they were a bit messy without the preset. And then these are raw out of camera, like M240 photos, exposing for the camera and then exposing for the background. And the bokeh is just amazing and very painterly. All these are shot to wide open at f2. As on the M240, I was using my EVF to help focusing, and that allowed me to focus at 0.5 meters at the minimum focus distance for some photos. The black and white ones with preset. Here again, the awesome bokeh and the rendering, which is really pretty. This is me approaching just some random guy and saying, "Can I take a picture? You look cool." Again, the depth and the bokeh, lovely, like artistic style lens. And this was our model for the day. And again, check the background. And this was a quick candid before we finish. If you want to see more on this lens, there's another video done by Kai, and I can link it below. And as always, a massive thanks to my awesome patrons.